Hi, and welcome to the NBA show, where today we'll discuss if the power forward position is actually dead. In recent years, we've seen a trend develop. NBA teams have grown substantially more perimeter-oriented, chief among them being the Houston Rockets. Look at the link in below because we covered them in an earlier episode. But basically, the thing that's happened in the NBA is that teams need shooting, and preferably at every position at their disposal as well as from the bench. Shooting is still a premium, but it's become a premium that teams are willing to pay for. Evan Fournier from the Orlando Magic is earning $17 million a year despite not being a rebounder or a playmaker or a defender. His job, literally, is to shoot the basketball. Duncan Robinson from the Miami Heat takes 85% of his shots from downtown. Ultimately, there is money to be made in the NBA if you can hit long-range jump shots. But let's transition into a little bit more than that, because for just a few years ago, the question loomed large over the NBA. Is the center position dead? That was the dominating question for at least a handful of years. I would argue that we looked at it from the wrong perspective. The question is not whether or not the center position is dead. The question should have been, and still is the traditional power forward dead? Because in today's league, we still see centers. We see different variations of the position, but they are still very, very essential to most teams not named the Rockets. You still need defense near the rim, you still need rebounding, and you still need to be able to have a player who can clean up on the offensive glass. That is the traditional center, and most teams have one, if not two. The power forward position, however, that's where we've seen a lot of changes. We're seeing, especially with the Los Angeles Clippers, they're now playing a dual small forward lineup with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, where both function as the 3 or the 4. The position has become interchangeable. What does that benefit a team? Well, they get more spacing, more flexibility, and more movement, and also a little bit more ball handling. The traditional 4-man was one who would step out and hit 15-footers, but he needed to be assisted. Now, he may have been able to score from the post and rebound, but he also needed to be played too, like the ball had to find him. He didn't go out and just get it. Whereas today, a power forward is more along the lines of a traditional 3-man. That doesn't mean he necessarily is the team's primary ball handler, but he does need to have the capability of putting the ball on the floor and especially hit shots from downtown. That is also why I'm a little bit concerned about the dual big man lineups in today's world. The Atlanta Hawks are pairing John Collins and Clint Capella in the front court. Now, they haven't seen a single second together because the Atlanta Hawks were not included in the Orlando bubble, but you have to wonder if a 2 big man lineup can work. In Chicago, it's much the same story. Lauri Markkanen is a 7-footer. Wendell Carter is at least 6'9", if not 6'10". Where is that flexibility going to be? Is Lauri Markkanen going to develop into a supremely talented ball handler? It doesn't seem likely. Eventually, NBA teams are going to have to make a call. Do we want to abide by the rules of the traditional positions, or do we want a free-flowing movement offense? The latter has proven way successful in the playoffs. Look no further than the Golden State Warriors, where Draymond Green, who is their power forward, is basically functioning as a playmaking guard. The name of the game is basketball is changing. And if a team is unwilling to change with it, you're immediately a dinosaur. And that brings us back to the power forward. The days of Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Chris Webber, the players who score from 15 feet and in, well, they're not necessarily dead, but they are very limited in their capability. Now, Tim Duncan would have dominated in every era, no question about it, but that's in large part due to his size, length, and ability to play center, as well as his defensive acumen. Would a guy like Charles Barkley have been good in this era? It's difficult to say. Now, he did have guard skills, and that's what you're looking for, But when you score as much near the basket as a 4, while also having to actually give up space for a center, it just boggles down the offense. Yeah, we're going to have to look at this from a different perspective now. Basketball is evolving. It's becoming more of a guard game. Big men like Karl-Anthony Towns are basically playing like guards. Towns is averaging 4.4 assists per game in the 2019-2020 season, while also giving you double-digit rebounding and well over 20 points a game. But even more than that, he's taking 8 threes per game. And he's even a center. It is wild to actually consider how much the big man position has changed. But if nothing else, you have to wonder if the power forward position will ever find a way to become relevant again, much like the center. You have the whole term of being a stretch four. Well, that's nice. And yes, there will always be a place on the court if you're Davis Bertans. But if you're not a 40% three-point shooter, and if you don't participate defensively, and if you're playing the power forward position, you'll find yourself in Europe or the G League really quickly. So now might be the time, if you're a young player who's trying to develop your game, to figure out what kind of path do I need to take to be a productive NBA big man? Because the entire term is changing by the day.